Welcome to the Artwork of You, the podcast where your life is the canvas and you are the masterpiece. I'm your host, Lori Gouhin, and together we'll explore creativity, self-awareness, mindset, goal strategy, and the importance of accountability so that you can paint your life's portrait with confidence and ease. Remember, in the gallery of life, you're not just a spectator, you are the art. So let's grab our brushes and start creating the masterpiece that is you. Hello, my friends. I am so glad that you are here with me today because today I have a very special guest. I have Sunny Amirapour on, and Sunny believes that having a plan and living with intention can lead to a happier and more positive life. She is a seasoned coach, trainer, speaker, and in-person group workshop facilitator, and she breaks down how healthy living recommendations can be put into bite-sized pieces, easy to follow concepts, and she empowers you to design your positively strong life. I met Sunny virtually it's been a few years now. Do you remember how we came to know each other on Instagram?
I think it was during COVID. I was pursuing creative pursuits. I think we were both really starting out on jumping into more creative pursuits. So we connected over that.
Yeah, you know how it was specifically? I saw your interview on the house tours for apartment therapy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I haven't been following that. I'm not even sure if they still do it, but there was a time where I was up to date on all the new house tours. I loved going on their website and looking at all the homes. And I remember yours and I was like, wow, she seems really cool. And I love her home. And I love that turquoise island that you had. And so I reached out to you on Instagram and told you that I saw your interview and you were really sweet and nice. And you followed me back. And that's how we became Instagram friends.
Yeah, I remember I didn't always follow people back, and I followed you back because I really loved your artwork. So, I just thought, wow, how beautiful she's living her life with that creative angle in mind. So that for me is important. I think a lot of people put that on the back burner. And so everything I do, I really, yes, want to create and achieve a successful life. But what does that entail? Sometimes all that really means is slowing down and being able to jump into the creative pursuits that bring you joy. So I did not remember the apartment therapy, but I did really like that article brought me other people, because it wasn't just about the fact that apartment therapy was shining a light on my home. They really did shine a light on the steps I took to build my home, which it was about creating a home with intention. And I feel like that is what I truly focus on. So when I'm teaching others to maybe eat better, exercise more, all of that comes with prioritizing and living with a clear intention. And so that's really what I'd love to talk to you about today, because a lot of people are missing that first step, which is clear vision of what they want to do. Lots of people say, oh, I want to eat healthy. Oh, I want to work out more. But what's your why? And why do you want to do those things? It's great to say, I want to be healthier, but sometimes people don't prioritize the things that allow them to create habits to be healthier.
I totally agree. And when I work with clients, a lot of the times they have so many interests or so many things they want to do, but they need to be more intentional, as you said, and focused with their time, because a lot of times that intention gets diluted and spread over too many things. And so they accomplish a little bit of a lot of things rather than really diving deep onto one. And yeah, I'd love to talk about that. And if we could, and I don't know, I know it's been years, but start maybe with, how did you get your home on apartment therapy? Because that had to be intentional on your part. You had to probably go through steps. Maybe you had it in your mind that would be really cool, but then you actually had to be intentional and you had to take the actions, and you probably had to have follow through.
It's funny you say that, because I've always been interested in home design and real estate. So even before that house was featured on apartment therapy, I had apartments and other homes that I beautified, and they looked great, but I didn't feel like I was good enough or my designs were good enough to get me on apartment therapy. And I would read, like you said, every apartment therapy newsletter, and I was always on their feed. And so I think making a point to read what they wrote every day and seeing the style of which they, one, take pictures and the style of the way they write their articles really made me more aware of how would I present myself if I were to approach them. And I went on their website and I was looking for someone to contact to say, oh, I have my home, I built it. And I was really intentional with the way I built it. It wasn't a very large home. And apartment therapy, I like that they highlight smaller homes. And I was very intentional with one, who my audience was, and it was apartment therapy, and then how I was going to approach them where it fit into their style of writing an article. So basically, I gift wrapped exactly what I thought they would be interested in, and I presented that to them. I don't think most people know this, but apartment therapy does have a submissions button, but you do have to submit your best pictures. You have to do a submission of a little bit write-up so that you can get them interested in your home. And so it was really interesting. And then you get ghosted for months. And so one day I woke up and I noticed that they had tagged me and posted about it.
So you hadn't even gotten notified that you were going to be in it? It was just there?
No.
Wow.
I heard that sometimes they'll notify you if it's not quite exactly what you need, and they'll ask for more. But like I said, I really gift wrapped it up. I gave them the pictures and the way that they would take pictures, and I was able to provide them with that. And I feel like that took years for me to learn. I was always into taking pictures. I was always into writing articles. Before that, I did my master's in communication, but tailoring that to exactly what they needed. That's something I've realized that I've gotten better at over the years. And I do that now with so many other things. Even if I'm going to present something to my 7-year-old, I'm intentional about how I'm going to approach her and give her that information. That's the same with anything I approach now, be it real estate, be it courses that I'm going to be teaching. I really like breaking it down to what it is I think my audience would need.
Yeah, I love that. And yeah, it boils down to know your audience in whatever you're doing, whether it's talking to your child or presenting a business idea or trying to put your offer out there into the world. Just be intentional and know your audience. I love that. So, how did you then transition from that?
I don't think I transitioned. So I am a firm believer that everyone is multifaceted, and I compartmentalize. So not that I transitioned from real estate, I still do that, and I still have side projects, and I still like to build homes. So that's like a side project for me that I don't usually advertise. But on the flip side of it, I also make the time to coach others. How I got into coaching was I was quite literally a sports coach. I was coaching in karate. I was coaching and I was a personal trainer. So for me, I was also compartmentalizing and having a very strong interest in health and wellness. And then on the other side of that, I also had a master's in health communication. And so I really was interested in communicating ways that would make others interested in keeping themselves healthy. But I think I realized over time, again, most people know they should eat healthier. Most people know they should, but are they at the point in their life where they're going to prioritize that? That's where it gets murky. So I was teaching workshops in the Chicago area. I was teaching workshops. I had a contract with a local library, and the workshops I taught were on how to create systems so you can eat better. But it's getting people to the point where they want to eat better. And that's when I realized people are missing that vision aspect. They think about life purpose, and they think their life purpose is this grand scheme of things. But our life purpose changes every single moment, every single day, I feel like. And so I personally believe that every year I sit down and I create a vision board. Quite literally, I have a vision. So that's how I create my purpose for this year. And then I simplify. I actually go through, I have a system now. So I teach these workshops on how to create a vision board that is not just like fluff, where you're not just like putting pictures on a board. I'm very scientific and I look at the science behind how vision boards work. And so then we simplify and we look at which ones are you going to prioritize. It's great to say, I want to make $2 million this year. And I'm not saying don't dream big and be realistic. That's not what I'm saying. But how are you going to make that $2 million? What are those day by day steps? What is that piece that you're missing that would give you that $2 million? Not from just thin air. There's something to be said about manifesting in the terms of prioritizing, and it brings to forth what's important to you. I really believe that you have to make specific action and like plan to bring it to fruition. So my first step would be create your life purpose. by creating that vision board, like really think about what would make you happy and make you feel fulfilled today, and then work on it for 1 full year. And how I'm going to work on it 1 full year. First, I'm going to simplify and go through and say, yeah, I would love to make $2 million right now, but my priority right this moment is my 2-year-old and how I'm with him every single day. So if I'm with that 2-year-old, but I still think it's important to make $2 million, where's that disconnect? How am I going to do that? And that was a reality for me. I wanted to be able to work at home, but also watch my kids. So then for me, I turned it to, okay, while he's napping, I can do more research in maybe real estate, maybe in an Airbnb, maybe I can rent out a space in my home. Like there's so many different angles that you could be looking at, but I had to really make it a priority that I wanted to stay home with my child, but I also wanted to work on something that was mine. So that's the element of, now I've simplified what's important to me. Then once you simplify, then you organize and you create that plan and you create that action plan. So then I was like, okay, if I want to go into real estate and I'm going to be putting some savings in, then where am I going to direct that attention? And then that's all I think about for a whole year straight. That's what I do. Or I wanted to teach these workshops. And so I created the full plan and I approached the libraries that I wanted to be with, and I approached the groups that I wanted to start with workshops. And so it's those little by little steps. I was listening to someone speak, to look it up for you, but essentially they were saying that it's really grit that gets you through doing anything. It's that stamina of doing something day in, day out. It's not good health. Those are all great things, but it's really just pushing through and doing what you need. But am I going to keep doing something that I'm half into? No, I really need to have that clear vision. Am I going to day in, day out hustle for that thing that's going to make me feel fulfilled at this point in my life?
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's very similar to a lot of the work that I do with my clients. And I try to differentiate with them the difference between targets and goals, right? And so the targets are something you're aiming for. And I like to think of the goals as the daily things, the tasks, like you said, the daily actions that you can check off the box. So you are really intentional. It's not, I'm thinking about doing this, or I'd like to get, this many followers, or I'd like to get in front of this many people. It's, you need to find the specific actions that are going to give you the best chance of success and check them off your box intentionally daily. Can you tell me a little bit more about how you teach your clients to create those kind of vision boards? Because it's not just a Pinterest board, as you said, it's really intentional. So how do you teach them to do that and to make it different than just pinning things up on a cork board?
Yeah, first we look a little bit at the science together. So I have on my website, I have an e-course. It's half an hour. We look at the science. We look at how visualization techniques don't just work by thinking about the target. So athletes, professional athletes, they're not just thinking about winning, right? They really think and visualize how they're training. A diver is not just thinking, I'm going to go and get in that water. They're thinking, and then I'm going to be on a podium. That's not what's going to win, right? They are going to visualize every, like the jump off. They're going to visualize every spin and turn, every tuck of the leg. So when I teach, we look at the science and the psychology behind setting goals so that you get into that mind frame. But then I break things up into quadrants and I look at family. How am I going to serve that as my life purpose as well? That's, I feel like, is important to everybody. As much as people want to put career first sometimes, and I say this through experience, a lot of people come to me, they're like, I want to make $2 million. But then I tell them, okay, so you want to make this right now, or in 10 years, or in 2 years? What is your goal? They're like, I can't do it right now. I want to also go to my kids' baseball games, and and I'm like, that's a great goal to have, to be able to make your kids' baseball games amazing.
Yeah.
So really looking at these quadrants and bringing them together, we look at your family, then looking at your work and school, looking at your hobbies, health and fun. That's one quadrant in itself. And then also experiences and travel. That's important for most people. That's usually something that people put first when they think of having a more fulfilled life. They say, I want to travel. I want to be able to have money for travel. So I create these quadrants with them. I give them 2-3 minutes per quadrant, and you'd be amazed how much people get on these quadrants, where they want to go, how they want to do it. And then we go from there, creating an actual goals, like a SMART goals plan. So within half an hour, we try to get that. And have it done. So then in my workshops, in the sense that they can sit for another half an hour to an hour and create visual boards, because that's helpful for a lot of people to sit there and enjoy the visual aspect. I do have an e-course where it's just half an hour of presenting that and being able to learn how to create these quadrants. And then for this new year coming, I'm already thinking about the year ahead. I am going to be just creating a simple template that people can download and they can create those quadrants fairly quickly. So
Nice.
I have lots of plans and lots of goals in my list too, and I'm checking through those and getting those done.
Kind of reminds me of almost like you took the wheel of life and applied it to a vision board. And
Right.
I love that. I think that's something that probably does definitely resonate with people because we all have those, as you say, quadrants or those sections of our life, and they all need to be addressed. Because I totally agree that sometimes people, they're thinking about the career or the money or the business they want to create, and they somehow think they're still going to be able to be doing all the things they're currently doing in addition to that. And it doesn't generally work out that way. And then they end up quitting or getting overwhelmed or burnout. And if we address that up front of, okay, so you still want to do this with your child. So how are we going to do both together? I love that. I
Right.
think that,
Learning to say no to the things that aren't going to serve those quadrant needs,
yes.
that's another step in itself. But learning that those things that people are asking me to do, or those things that I'm doing out of habit or obligation, those are sometimes made up in your head as well because they're not really serving your purpose. They're
Yeah,
not
no,
serving
absolutely. You
your
have to
needs.
say, and I talk about this a lot, you have to say no to more things. It's really, just saying yes to a few things and no to everything else, because as we said earlier, then things get diluted.
Mhm. And it doesn't have to be forever. I think that's a
Exactly. It's no, not
right.
now, not forever. I totally agree.
I personally have been really enjoying planning year by year. And I do suggest people create a shared vision board because you're not just a singular being. Usually you're a family. For travel, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to go to Portugal. Great. How do you want to do that? I really want to go with my mother and father. And I'd like to, do they have this vision working towards those goals? Are they, right? So it's one thing to just bring it up and people think, oh, there goes Sunny again, bringing up these lofty goals. But unless I include my loved ones into that same shared vision. And so they understand why I say no to certain things and why I don't want to do this thing right now. That helps me too, because you can be kind, you can be warm, and you can still say no.
Yeah,
That's okay.
absolutely. Yeah, I love that. That's a great point to share your vision because it will make people understand more, as you said, when you say no. And speaking of travel, can you talk a little bit about your family going to Germany for several months and where that idea came from, how you made it happen, why you made it happen, all the things. I found that so fascinating.
So I had written that on my vision board, I feel like in 2022 or something. And I was like, I would love my kids to be able to experience life in a different place, just to be like more rounded people. Both my husband and I come from different backgrounds, and he has heard his grandparents' story of immigrating. I have witnessed it firsthand. And so I wanted my kids to have this experience of knowing other people and other places in this world. So for it to be on my vision board, it was very intentional. I wanted this to happen. I really would have loved to do a year in some European country, and I was open to it. It didn't need to be anywhere specific, but I was open to 1 year abroad. When I sat down and I whittled down my goals, yes, I want to move abroad, but do I want to give up a full year? I would give up some time at work. My husband would have to either leave his work because they are not into the whole work remotely thing. So then when I took my goals, I said, you know what, for me, so it's sufficient to try to live somewhere for 3 months. So that's what we ended up focusing, because 3 months based on my goals were very doable. And both of our work situations allowed for that to happen based on actions that we took and what we wanted to do. So then we sat down and we said, great, now we have 3 months that we can go to Europe. Where can we go? So then we had set a budget aside and we thought, what would allow us to go somewhere for 3 months with 2 kids? And I didn't want to take car seats. I didn't want to have to worry about a car. So I wanted to be a city center somewhere, but what's going to be affordable in the sense that I can still try to travel on the weekends. That's one of the perks of living in Europe. So then from there, again, being very intentional, we picked Frankfurt, Germany. I had been to Frankfurt before actually that trip. We did take 2 weeks and went to Frankfurt just to see if this is somewhere we would like to live.
Makes sense. Yeah.
this was a 2-3 year thing in the making where we were constantly making decisions to align us back to that one goal. So the first time I had gone to Frankfurt, I think it was in the airport. The Frankfurt airport is very like brown and gray, and it's just like the most boring place. The second time I went to Frankfurt was to actually check it out and see if we could live there. And we stepped out, and it is the most beautiful city. It's so green. It has so many parks. And I thought, wow, it really could be a place we'd like to live, because Frankfurt is so accessible. You can take a train and then take flights to other places. And so again, every single decision, we were flexible, but it had clear intention and goals behind it. And so we were able to do 3 months with 2 kids. In between there, we were able to go to England, to Italy, and we took trains. So I didn't have to have car seats, and my kids enjoyed taking the train, and the parks in Europe were great. So we really got to do exactly what we wanted to do. Yes, it wasn't the year-long trip that I was looking for, but it was phenomenal. And Frankfurt's a great city. I feel bad thinking it was what it was at the airport.
I love what you said, that it was years in the making, and you just kept redirecting yourself back to that same goal and those actions that would be necessary to make it happen. Because I think a lot of times people really want their goal to happen like now. They think that it has to happen right away. Even within a year, sometimes, depending on the goal, can be nearly impossible, right? And so it's so important to keep that vision in mind and keep redirecting so that you end up with success. And I love how you did that.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. And even it was on my vision board, like I said, for a few years, but convincing my husband that this is also something that he would like to do. And I say convincing, it's not that hard to convince somebody to go with you, but it is hard to convince someone to possibly, like, it would affect his work. So we really did have to have a shared vision, and we had to continuously come back to it. And that's how he knew it was important to me, and it became important to him, because then we had a shared vision of how it was we were going to expose our children to like a life abroad, and how we were going to take care of it in terms of work. But also, relationships are fluid. At the end of the day, you have an argument or you do something, you always want to make sure you're coming back to these goals that are going to help you grow together. So that's another aspect of, I like to make a vision board so that I'm continuously growing. That growth mindset doesn't just come alone. You don't live in a bubble. You have to truly feel that you can do that with your partner. If you have a partner, and if you don't have a partner, you might eventually. So you really have to think, how do I go about doing these things so that you should be selfish in your needs. A lot of times I also tell people you need to learn to be selfish as well. But at the same time, like I said, you don't live in a bubble. You can't just take off and go and travel the way I would have liked to. I have to think about, how are my kids going to enjoy? I had to pick a city that had parks within walking distance of where we could rent. I had to think about where I'm going to store a stroller. Before, it would have been really nice to live in the high rise so now there's like little things that are going to affect every single thing you do. And if you want to truly be happy in the decisions you're making, you also have to be cognizant of the barriers that are going to make you happy in every little step. So that, I feel like that's why it helps me to be intentional. I really think about so many different things. So for me, it does really help me whittle it down so that what's important right now, and I can change it over the years. When I go back to my vision boards that I've made over the years, I'm able to be like, oh, I didn't make that happen, but that's still important to me. So I'm going to come back to it, and I'm going to try again. We're going to maybe tweak these things and maybe try again this year. And if it hadn't happened last year, it actually probably wouldn't have happened, because my kids are getting older, they're going to school, different things make it harder. So maybe then I would have had to put it on the back burner for another time as well. And that's okay, because when I create the vision boards, I can be really like lofty. But once I create my plan, then that's when I get really practical, and I get really particular about, if I can't do this because of A or B, then maybe I can change A or B. But the first goal is something that needs to be flexible, that I can slowly work towards.
I love that you said earlier about, was it the year that I had initially wanted? No, but it was 3 months. And that's okay. We aim for the big things. What is that saying? Shoot for the stars and maybe you'll get to the moon or something like that. But yeah, so maybe originally you have this lofty goal, but even if you don't get there, it's all the things you get in the process of trying to get there.
Having faith that the universe is going to take care of my needs helps. But I had to be particular about the goals that are important to me. And sometimes, God has has different plans for you, the world, the universe, what is that you believe in. Really, I personally just had faith that if I put forth my goals, then I can make everything around it work. But you also have to be flexible. Sometimes things aren't meant for you, and sometimes there are different plans until you get there. So
yeah, absolutely. And also, when you were talking about the shared vision with your family, or even just for yourself, and how important it is to have that vision, because even science shows that when we have something to look forward to as human beings, we thrive better, we do better, we're happier, we're more joyful, as long as we have something that we're working towards. And it doesn't have to be giant goals, no, but anything that's important to you. And as you mentioned earlier, your why, what's important to you, and all those quadrants of your life. And if you have something to look forward to that you're really genuinely working towards, you're going to be happier.
absolutely. Yeah, it's that constant understanding of I'm fulfilling my life's purpose. And that's a continuously changing goal as well. I have an overall purpose of I want to be kind. I want to make a difference in the world. And even if it means with just one person, if it's a small little thing of Christmas time, are we able to create a Christmas hamper for our family? Or is it a bigger thing where I can truly help someone maybe down the road? I have all these other plans of like down the road, how could I help somebody with their home and get a job? There's so many other things that I think about, but little by little, I also have the purpose in life where I truly know that I'm a generator of ideas, and I also like things to be beautiful, and I can't just create something without trying to make it beautiful in the process. And that's something that brings me joy. So that must be contained.
Yeah, it seems like you've really mastered aligning your values with your goals, and that's a surefire way for success.
I can't say I've figured it out all, but that those are the things that I've been able to put in my pros and cons list, and also in my like important, not important lists, and be able to check them off. So I appreciate you saying that, but I don't know if I'm there yet.
It seems that if you're not there yet, you're certainly well on your way, just by the things that you're sharing. I would say so. So tell me a little bit about the clients that come to you. What type of client generally comes to you? Where are they at, and how do you move them from point A to point B?
So that's changing as well. At the beginning, it was clients who were interested in better nutrition or looking to live like a healthier life. But now I feel like my demographic has really moved to a broader sense. I do get a lot younger people now trying to figure out what it is they want to do with their life. They don't want to be sitting at a desk for all their lives and just sort of whittling away behind a computer for somebody else. So I do get the younger generation that are open to understanding different ways of doing things. But personally, I've been really focusing on moms who are already doing so much. They're the powerhouse of their families. They are organizing. And I find that sometimes moms get lost in the shuffle. And some of the workshops I cater specifically to parents. And I say parents, it doesn't have to be just moms, but truly parents who are feeling burned out, they're feeling overworked, and they feel lost in their own needs, and they're putting their children first. And so I've been really focusing on gearing that to understanding. That's why a shared vision goal is important. It's important to understand some things need to be taken off your plate to be able to do the things that are important to you. And are they that important to you that you want to do them? If so, then let's create the actionable steps. So that's really where it's been going. But oddly enough, ever since I've created this online e-course, I've had clients from everywhere. I say clients, they've been buying the course from like Dubai, from so many other places in the world, really looking to create specific points to align them more with their purpose.
And do you work with clients one-on-one as well, or just through the workshops?
I do have plans to work with clients more one-on-one in the future, but right now my goals have been to spend most of my time with my two kids, and one of them is 2, and so it's really time intensive. But I do enjoy creating digital products, and I'm hoping that I can reach even more people with providing them with an online product that they would be able to easily and quickly get through their internet.
No, I love that, right? Because you have your priorities and you have your goals in line. And right now, the time it would take to work with one-on-one clients isn't, that's not your focus. So you figured out a way to still have something to serve people, but it doesn't require your personal time and energy.
Absolutely. And I do find right now my goals are aligned with I want to be able to be present on the day to day, but I also, like you said, would love to be able to serve others that maybe are looking to learn from my expertise.
Yeah. And if I just before we wrap up, I had another question I wanted to ask you about because it's another shared interest of ours, and that's Feng Shui.
Ah,
So,
yeah.
can you talk a little bit to that, how you got interested in that and how you apply it in your own lives? Do you use that with your clients in your workshops?
You know what? It's funny because, like I said, I'm very science minded, and most Feng Shui practitioners and followers, it's very woo. So it can be a little bit off-putting for some people. They're like, no, how can that make a difference? But I've been just learning and I've been tweaking some things. One, some things in Feng Shui make absolute sense in terms of design principles. So sometimes when I see how it was written thousands of years ago, essentially to create a welcoming front entry, and some of the things that are written out, I'm like, wow, that totally makes sense for design practices. And then other things, if you ever follow a Facebook group on Feng Shui, people are like, no, you cannot have a doorway facing a window. There's just no way. You know what? Like, I have a doorway facing a window. You can't change things sometimes.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to think that's it. My house is cursed. That's not how Feng Shui works.
Yeah.
I really feel like it's design principles that were helping to create better flow. And anyone who walks into a space, I don't care who you are and how scientific minded you are, you feel different in different environments. And that
Absolutely.
is the power of that energy of life force, of the universe, of whatever it is. And you can feel items are too close to you and there's no space around them. You can feel that feeling of claustrophobia. And so I really try to take Feng Shui with a grain of salt, but also try to use the tenets and the messages of living clutter free and being able to dust easily around things. Like those things can only help your health. And so I use it in conjunction with my healthy home practices, which is to keep the air quality of your home very clean, air purifiers basically everywhere, plants and greenery, because psychologically that has been helped to really feel like you're a part of nature. So I guess I'm picking and choosing.
It's like all things in life, right? You pick and choose what resonates with you and you can leave the others behind. And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, that's, I think, a great way to live your life.
Absolutely. So for me now, I live my life in the sense that everything you do has to make sense for you and don't go into extremes. But I can really learn from ancient cultures and I can learn to take the pieces that work. And I'm going to just try my best.
Absolutely. And when you mentioned clutter-free home, a clutter-free home to me really lends itself to a clutter-free mind. So if you feel overwhelmed and burned out and all the things, one of the first things I always suggest going through your house, your closets, all the thing, and just cleaning out the clutter, because I feel like it really does help.
That's actually a really great point because a lot of people think that you have to live minimally, but I love beautiful things. For me, I think about how can I group them where I can dust them easily, or how can they be grouped so that there is a feeling of openness still. So that helps me pick and choose what items I can keep. And I only like the most beautiful things. If something is like nice, somebody gave it to me, but it's not serving me to feel like that is the most beautiful thing I've seen, then maybe it's time I donate that and it's time for it to go.
You've loved it
Yeah,
long enough. It's time for somebody else to love it. I love
absolutely.
that. So, where can people find out more about you? I definitely suggest people follow your Instagram account because you just create beautiful reels and you always give great recommendations for things that you have in your house. I know you recently did a post about the water filter and something about so you didn't have to put another hole in your sink and or your
Yes.
countertop, all that stuff. So, where can people find more about your workshop or your e-course that you have, and where is the best place to follow you on social?
I'm always on like Instagram's an always open portal. Essentially, you can DM me, but I'd love to meet people on Instagram, which is at Positively Strong Living. And please come there, message me, and we can have conversations there. But I do have a website as well, which is positivelystrong.com. That's getting a bit of a reconstruction, like renovation upgrade. So that's in the works. But right now it's up and you're welcome to go on there. But if you see it changing over the next few weeks and months, there's a reason for that.
Right.
But
And we'll put that in the show notes too, so people will have those links.
Thank you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I would definitely love to meet more people on Instagram.
Great.
I got to meet you. So how great is that?
Yeah, I know. It's the best. Thank you so much for having this conversation with me today. I loved hearing more about your adventures and the vision board. I learned a lot, and I will definitely be applying some of that stuff into my own life. And I'm sure that my listeners got a lot of value as well.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'm honored you wanted to speak to me. So thank you.
That's a wrap for today, my friends. Thank you for sharing your time with me. And remember to show up in your life like the masterpiece you are, because you are the artwork. Please subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Have a fabulous day.